Salutations to all our future judges. In this video, we are going to see Indian Evidence Act 1872. Before venturing into the video, I'd like to make a few requests to all the judicial aspirants. One is, please do not skip the video. Watch the video from the beginning till the end so that you don't miss any aspect which has been explained. In addition to this, please have a notebook and a pen with you and make a note of questions which have been framed while explaining the sections. I'll be covering various questions which have been asked from this act as well as the way in which questions could be framed. I would also be giving various illustrations which have not been given in addition to the illustrations which have been given. It is also very important, and in addition to this, I'd be explaining the ways in which certain sections can be remembered or certain aspects can be remembered. Some memory techniques would also be given. I hope that this video would be of great utility to you. Indian Evidence Act 1872. Now what you see on the screen is the latest or the last updated version, which was updated on 13/3/2020. I have provided the link given by the central government from where you can get all the laws or acts of the states as well. If you want to download this, you can very well go to the website and download from that particular link. Now, let us venture into the act directly. Part 1 is about relevancy of facts, and in that chapter 1 is preliminary. This act will be called as Indian Evidence Act 1872. We all know of this fact. So the next thing is the extent to which it will apply. They say it extends to whole of India. Prior to the amendment, Jammu and Kashmir was not there. Now Jammu and Kashmir, since it has been split into two union territories, that has also been included under the Indian Evidence Act. This act actually applies to all judicial proceedings before any court, including the courts martial. But the exception is that if that court martial is coming under Army Act, Naval Discipline Act, Indian Navy Act or Air Force Act, it will not be applicable. That is, courts martial under these acts will not attract the Indian Evidence Act. Indian Evidence Act will obviously not be applicable. And in addition to this, affidavits presented to any court or officer and proceedings before an arbitrator will not attract Indian Evidence Act or will not fall under the Indian Evidence Act. The next aspect is Evidence Act will come into force on first day of September 1872. And if you see, the date which is given for the Evidence Act was 15th March 1872. However, it will come into force only on first day of September 1872. Sometimes in preliminary exams, they may ask a question as to when the Indian Evidence Act came into force. There could be a question like this. So you should not get confused. You should not write 15th March. You should write first day of September 1872. Section 2 is already repealed. Section 3 is interpretation clause. This is very important. Questions are asked from this particular section in preliminary as well as in the main exam. So you need to be absolutely sure of the facts stated in this particular section. Now, the first word they are defining is, or the interpretation they are giving is, court. They defined court is one which includes judges, magistrates. We all know this fact. And in addition to this, all persons legally authorized to take evidence are also included under the category of court. But arbitrators are an exception. They are not court. If you say arbitrator, they do not fall under the court category. So that is very important. A question might be asked like as to whether an arbitrator is falling under the interpretation of the word court. The answer should be no. The next word which is used for interpretation is fact. Fact, they refer to two important things. One is anything. They simply say anything is covered under the word fact. And the next aspect is state of things. For example, let us say a thing is in liquid form, or a thing is in a solid form, or it is in the form of a gas, or a relation of things, one thing related to the other thing, that relation between these two things, and a thing which is capable of being perceived by senses. Somebody is saying something, I'm listening to it, I'm hearing it. Somebody is doing something, I'm seeing it. Physically, I don't have a contact with a particular thing, but I'm seeing something, I'm perceiving it by my senses. All these are covered under the word fact. And next is any mental condition of which any person is conscious of. There will be some mental condition of which a person is conscious. So, to put it simply, they cover two things. One is a physical state and a mental state. Physical state simply means that a thing which you can feel, either by touch or by your senses. Touch is also included in the senses. So, just for easy understanding, I am saying that feeling or perceiving something by senses. And the next is a mental condition of which a person should be conscious of. That is a very important condition what they state. Now let us go to the illustrations. Before going into these illustrations, let me give you an example or a scenario which you can just imagine. Now you are entering into a supermarket. Just remember this as a story, so you'll easily remember the illustrations what have been given, because there is a good possibility that questions could be asked from these illustrations as well. So imagine you are going into a supermarket. In that supermarket, you see the items which have been arranged in a certain order. For example, there will be a separate rack for the detergent soaps, or a separate rack for the snacks, where each and everything will be arranged in a certain order in a certain place. Now, after going into the supermarket, you hear someone saying something. Someone is shouting, or someone is having a fight. You are hearing something, you are hearing some sounds. Then you are trying to go to that place from where the sound is coming. There you are listening to certain words which may be kind of abusive words. Then you go and see there is a very famous person, very famous personality who is standing there, who is very well known for his personal opinion, or he is known for a particular aspect. Say for example, he may be a person who is doing some social service, or he may be of a particular ideology. He may be famous for his ideology. In all these aspects. So you hear him say something in a particular sense. Then you identify that man as a certain reputation. So all these are coming under the fact. This particular person has a wrong opinion or a particular opinion about a certain aspect, pertaining to a certain aspect. So all these aspects, what I stated, you are facing in a supermarket is simply this illustration. You're going inside, you're listening something, and you go near to that place from where you heard that sound. Now you are listening to certain words, and that person has some opinion about something. He is saying about that opinion, either in a good faith or fraudulently. That person is a very reputed or a very famous person. So now all these 5 illustrations are covered with a single story. The next word is relevant. Let us understand this word by way of an example. Let us take a scenario where a person is having a knife in his hand and is going inside a house, and when he comes out, the person inside the house is dead. So in this, let us assume that fact A is the person is going inside the house with a knife in his hand. That is fact A. And the fact B is the person inside the house was dead when the person holding the knife came out of the house. So these two facts are connected to arrive at a conclusion that the person who went inside the house has killed the person who was inside the house. So this fact is said to be relevant to the other fact. Fact A is said to be relevant to fact B if it is falling under the provisions of this act, under the relevancy of facts. So, a fact is said to be relevant to the other fact if the fact, if the primary fact or the first fact is connected to the second fact and the connecting factor is falling under the definition of relevancy of facts. The next aspect is fact in issue. Now, let us try to understand what is this fact in issue. To put it very simply, let us take an example. Imagine a person has given a loan to someone else. The person has got a right to ask the person to repay the loan. That is his right. The other person, the person who has taken the loan, has got a liability to repay the loan. And there is some disability which is being caused. For example, there is a witness in a case who is being prevented from appearing as a witness in the case. So in all these cases, when something is asserted, when something is denied, to what extent or to what nature that is being done. In addition to this, there could be some existence of some facts, or where they may try to prove the non-existence of certain facts. All these are covered under facts in issue, and when we see the illustrations, you could very well clearly understand this. Now, let us try to understand the explanation. The fact is, imagine under the civil procedure code, a court is recording an issue of fact. Then, the fact which is required to ascertain or deny the issue of fact is also a fact in issue. To put it simply, to establish the issue of fact, whatever you do, or to deny that issue of fact, whatever you do, it is also a fact in issue. Simple. And now let us go to the illustrations one by one. Now, they are taking a scenario. A is one person. He is accused of the murder of another person called as B. At the trial, following facts may be an issue. A caused B's death. That is an issue. A intended to cause B's death. So, A is having an idea to kill B. That idea is also a fact in issue. A has received grave and sudden provocation from B. So now, B is doing something or saying something which is provoking A, due to which he has done something or he has murdered B. In all these cases, A has received grave and sudden provocation from B. Now, let us see the next aspect. A was with unsound mind. He was incapable of knowing its nature. A is killing B, but he did not know that his action would kill B. He is not in a position to understand, or he is not capable of knowing what is he doing. So that is also a fact in issue. Now, the next is document. So what they say is, document means any matter expressed or described upon any substance by means of letters, figures or marks, or by more than one of those means. Now we can try to understand this in a simple manner. Any object it may be. It could be a tree, it could be a chair, it could be a plastic item, it could be anything, any substance. If there is a letter in that item, if there is a figure in that item, if there is a mark in that item, or if there is a combination of all these things, everything is a document. I could recollect once a question was asked. There is a tree in which there is a number which is painted, and the question was asked whether this tree will be considered as a document. Many wrote answer as no. They were of the opinion that tree cannot be a document. But as per definition under Indian Evidence Act, any substance which has a letter, figure or mark is a document. It's as simple as that. Now let us see the illustrations. A writing is a document. Somebody is writing something in a paper. That is also a document. Or words printed or photographed. that is also a document. A map or plan is a document. An inscription on a metal plate or stone is a document. A caricature is a document. Many may not know what is caricature. Caricature is something like this. You would have seen the pictures of leaders drawn in a funny way. So that is called as caricature. That is also a document. Now, let us see what is evidence. Evidence means and includes all statements which the court permits or requires to be made before it by witnesses in relation to matters of fact under inquiry. Now let us try to understand this. Now, let us imagine a case is pending in a court. Now the court has to decide the facts of the case and what are the issues which are arising from that fact. So now what court will do is, it will try to bring the witnesses into the court and ask them or question them as to what has happened. And as you all know, there is a chief examination, cross-examination, re-examination. All these aspects are part of examining the witnesses. So, all statements which are made by these witnesses are called as oral evidence. So that is falling under the definition of evidence. The next is all documents, including electronic records, produced for the inspection of the court. So any document you go and give in the court, including electronic records, are called as documentary evidence. Now let us see what is the next definition which is given. Proved. Let us try to understand this in a simple manner. Some cases filed before the court. So a fact is coming up, whether a person did this, whether a person did not do this, all these are facts. So it is coming before the court and court feels that this could be possible, this should have happened, or this might not have happened. So on a basis that a normal man will feel that this has happened, will understand that there is a probability that such thing could have happened. So in all those cases, it is deemed to be proved. So the next word what they are using is disproved. So some facts are placed before the court. The court believes that, no, this is not possible. I don't think this could exist. If somebody is saying an alien came into the earth and killed him, so it is quite probable, even a normal prudent man will understand that it is not possible at all. They obviously know alien will not come to the earth and kill somebody. So the existence is improbable from the perspective of a normal prudent man. So that is considered to be disproved. So the next one is not proved. What do they mean by not proved? A fact is said not to be proved when it is neither proved nor disproved. The very important thing is we should understand the difference between not proved, proved and disproved. A thing which is not existing at all is considered to be disproved. A thing which is possible or probable is considered to be proved from a normal prudent man's perspective. So in this case, when a fact is neither proved nor disproved, it is deemed as not proved. In a case, someone should prove something or disprove something. If both are not happening, it is deemed as not proved. Now let us see what they are saying about the word India, how it has been defined. But in this, very important is, please understand that state of Jammu and Kashmir is not there. By mistake, they are given this. So in case if you download this particular PDF, please strike this off. India means the territory of India. Now what, that is the definition. Now, the expression certifying authority, electronic signature certificate, electronic form, electronic records, information, secure electronic records, secure digital signature, subscriber will have the same meaning as in Information Technology Act 2000. To put it simply, these words have not been defined in this act. You should take the definition from the Information Technology Act 2000. That is what they try to say. Now let us move to the fourth section. This very important section, please listen carefully. They are using the term may presume. The act is saying to the court, you should presume this fact. So naturally the court will presume. But if somebody is coming and disproving it, then court need not presume it to be a may presume fact, or the court may call for the proof of it. If a fact is falling under this may presume clause, the court may call for the proof of it, or a party can disprove it. Now let us move to shall presume. Whenever it is directed by this act, the act is saying that court shall presume a fact, it shall regard such fact as proved at all. So it is deemed to assume that the fact is proved unless and until it is disproved. But in shall presume, court shall not call the proof for such fact. The court cannot call for the proof of such fact. That is the difference between may presume and shall presume. To put it simply, in may presume, court will say, come on, you come and prove this. But in shall presume, court will not say so. The party has to only disprove it. That is the only option. In may presume, you have two options. You can disprove it, or court may call for the proof of it. In shall presume, the party has to disprove it. That is the only thing. And conclusive proof, it is very important. Imagine there is a fact and that fact is proved. So there is one connected fact. The second fact need not be proved if the act says so. And evidence shall not be allowed to be given for that particular fact to disprove it. Let me try to explain this conclusive proof with an example. Imagine, this is of course, I'm repeating the same example to make you understand the fact. Imagine if a person is going with a knife into a house. There is a loud voice from the house. It seems like some fight is going on inside the house. After a short time, the person is coming out of the house with knife in his hand with blood stains. And the person inside the house is dead. So in both these cases, the fact that a person went to the house with knife is a fact. And after that particular incident, the person inside the house is dead. So if the act is saying that a person is going inside the house with knife and while coming out, the person inside the house is dead, it should be a conclusive proof. If the act is saying so, and it is a conclusive proof that the person who went inside the house has killed that person. So if the act is saying so, then the court will say, no, it is proved that the person went inside the house with a knife in his hand. So that is enough. So it need not be proved or to disprove, allowed to be disproved, that this person has killed the person inside the house, and only if the act is saying so. So this is very important. I hope you have understood this. If you like the video, do press the red color subscribe button as well as the all button so that you receive the notifications whenever a video is posted in this channel. If you like the video, do press the thumbs up button and share the channel with your friends. You can motivate your friends by sharing the channel. Let us join hands together and contribute for a learned society. Thank you.